Good morning and welcome to VTI 7.0. This session is titled Skilled Immigrants, Workforce Challenges and Innovative Solutions for Integration. So welcome, my name is Grayla Renault and I'm the host for this session. And if you have any tech issues, please direct that to me personally in the chat. But I want you to direct all of your questions that you might have about the presentation to everyone, not just panelists, so that everyone can see what the questions are. Joanna and I are going to try to remember to read the questions out loud so that everyone gets to hear them before she answers them. And then just a little more for housekeeping. The webinar evaluation that you will need to fill out for this session will appear automatically at the end of the presentation. And for those of you who need proof of attendance, that's going to be sent to you automatically via Zoom for each session that you attend. So Joanna, I'm going to kick it over to you and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Excellent. So thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Joana Winningham and I am the New Americans Initiative Coordinator for the Department of Labor in our Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning. I've been with the division for the past 5.5 years. I was working throughout our American Job Centers, facilitating workshops for the Spanish-speaking population who were receiving unemployment insurance benefits. And then more recently, about 9 months ago, crazy to think that, last April, I started in this role as the New Americans Initiative Coordinator. And essentially, I kind of just ensure that new Americans, anyone who's internationally born, have access to our workforce services, including our adult education providers, have access to language assistance services. And then I also co-lead our Skilled Immigrant Task Force, which we'll go over a little bit later in the presentation today. So thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll have some fun here. And again, any questions that you have, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we'll read them hopefully as they come in. If not, we'll save them for the end.
Thank you so much, Joanna. So right now, I am going to launch a poll. You should see that momentarily. Oh. Hey, we're going to give it a few more seconds here. All right. And I'm going to share the results real quick. So as you can see, we have a lot of instructors who are present with us today. And then we have some intake and assessment specialists. We have program administrators, and then a few MIS, Management Information System specialists, and some transition specialist career coaches. So here we go. All right, Joanna, you are free to share your slides.
All right, give me 2 shakes here. All right, excellent. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, thanks again for joining today. Hopefully we'll have a very fun and interactive session as much as possible. We will do another poll here in a few, and I will be utilizing the chat a lot. So if you've got your clicking fingers ready to go, please have them ready to go and have the chat open. Since we're unable to unmute through the session, I want to use the chat as much as possible. So get those fingers ready to go and provide some feedback in chat. And so today's session again is called Skilled Immigrants, Workforce Challenges and Innovative Solutions. And so what we're going to kind of cover today, I already talked about myself, obviously, we're going to identify the unique challenges skilled immigrants face integrating into the U.S. workforce system. So not just Maryland, this is a national, national barriers and challenges that they face also globally, right? So it's not just in the U.S., it's a global issue as well. And then we'll also review resources available to support the integration of skilled immigrants into Maryland's workforce system. So what programs exist? What do we know? What do we have in our backyard that can help us to work with skilled immigrants? And so opening question that I have for you. So if you're able to in chat, how would you define a skilled immigrant? I'll give you a couple seconds to see if you can type that in there. Just a quick couple words. How would you define a skilled immigrant? Let me open up chat here so I can see that as well. How would you define a skilled immigrant? You can provide some feedback in chat. Hopefully your chat is enabled. Here we go. Someone who has many degrees from another country, an internationally trained individual, student with credentials, work experience in another country. Oh, these are coming through fast now. Okay, hold on. Someone from a foreign country who is bringing employability skills to the US, someone who has specialized knowledge, immigrants who brought some expertise, an immigrant who possesses degree from home country. Excellent, they keep coming through. Person that is able to contribute to the community, ability to possess technical skills, someone who has different skills from their country. Excellent. And so broadly speaking, a skilled immigrant is an internationally born person who has work experience, training, higher education from his or her home country. And as I mentioned, I'm the co-lead of Maryland's Skilled Immigrant Task Force. And according to us, our definition, a skilled immigrant is a work authorized, internationally born, and internationally trained worker with at least 2 years of formal or informal education, training, or on-the-job experience that has led to special skills, training, knowledge, and or abilities for certain types of work. And so broadly speaking, it could just be anyone who's internationally trained, has international work experience. In Maryland, we kind of defined it a little further there, just to include that work authorization in that 2-year period, right, of having either formal or informal education, training, or on-the-job experience. Excellent. Thank you for your participation. And so I have a poll that's coming up here. So Brayla, if we can launch that poll. Should be either yes, no, or maybe answer. Have you ever worked with a student who was a skilled immigrant? If we can launch that poll, Brayla. Hopefully it's in there. Excellent. Have you ever worked with a student who was a skilled immigrant? Yes, no, or maybe. What about 20 more seconds, maybe? And we'll count it down, maybe. There we go. Close it out. You can see the responses. Excellent. Excellent. So great majority of folks have, 87% of those, 34 to 39 said that they have worked, and some maybe no, and some are unsure. Excellent. And then the other question I have, you can just put in chat. Do you remember, right? Do you remember what type of education or professional background that person had, right? What type of education or professional background did that person have? Just kind of type it in chat if you can remember. Just curious to see. Early childhood education, airline pilot, excellent. A dentist, a medical and dental. Cool. Nursing, chemist, accounting, nursing, dentist. Cool. So a lot of healthcare, legal, epidemiologist, accountant, electrician, nursing, engineer, a writer. Awesome. Very cool. Excellent. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, IT. Cool. Plethora of folks there. Teacher. Excellent. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for participating, Dr. Farmer. They keep coming through. Excellent. So it looks like some repeats here, but wonderful. Okay. Excellent. And so kind of just want to go over, what challenges do skilled immigrants face integrating into the U.S. workforce? And for that population, maybe that you have worked with, since a grand majority of you have worked with somebody, what are some barriers that they faced integrating into the U.S. workforce? Maybe just put one barrier that you remember that that person faced. Licensing, language, transcript evaluations, a lot of languages coming through, lack of certification, they don't have a license or school, pronunciation, citizenship, work papers, reciprocity, okay. Lack of recognition of credentials, language transcripts, don't believe they speak English well enough, right? So self-perceptions, language. All right, excellent. So we're going to kind of go over, and again, this is not an all exhaustive list. This is just like after, research and various calls and various findings that I've done, I've kind of culminated a list here. But again, it's not all exhaustive. Everyone is very unique in the challenges and the barriers that they face. But these are some very kind of broad and overarching barriers and challenges that folks face, skilled immigrants face integrating into the U.S. workforce. And so one is navigating the U.S. job market, right? Applying for work over in Portugal or Germany or Ukraine could be very different than it looks here navigating the U.S. job market. And so they lack that knowledge about how do I look for work in the U.S., right? They also lack the knowledge of the U.S. workplace culture, right? how we work in the US could be very different than someone who works in their home country, right? And so appreciating those differences and those nuances that they have to learn coming to the new country. Lack of social capital, right? If we read and read and read, networking makes up about 80% of job hirings, right? In onboarding. And so if you have no capital, right? If you're new to this country, to this place, and don't have that network of folks, it may be very challenging in order to get in, integrated into the workforce system. So the lack of social capital is there. A lot of folks mentioned this, credential evaluation, and also the recognition. So while you may get your credential evaluated, right, will an employer or will another educational institution recognize your credentials, right? It's not just the evaluation. Someone has to be able to recognize it as well. So they have those challenges as well. And there are programs now, especially for folks who may not have the documentation that you would need to have an official transcript. For example, the World Education Services has a program for special populations from various countries who may not have access to the actual credential from their home country. And so they work with them to try to have an unofficial evaluation, but at least something that could speak to the type of education and training that they received in their home countries. Folks mentioned licensing, right? So complex and confusing at times relicensing processes. And so how do I become a dentist again? How do I become a nurse again here in the US? How do I relicense here in Maryland? Because it could look differently from relicensing in other states, right? So even though within the US our licensing can vary. And so what does that look like? Well, how do I navigate those processes? What are the steps that I need to take in order to get back into dentistry or accounting or engineering, as folks mentioned in the chat? The lack of the US work experience is one thing that I've heard from folks all across the board, is that US employers value US work experience. And so if you only have work experience from abroad, and again, it kind of goes into that recognition piece, US employers, do they recognize the work experience that you have from abroad? So again, varying challenges that folks can face. And again, folks can experience all of these, some of these, a few of these, etc. Folks mentioned language, right? So having limited English proficiency, even folks who were, educated in English in their home country, the English we learn, right? That textbook English is not the English that we actually speak on a day-to-day basis. And so even somebody who comes with, right, English proficiency, learning the nuances of the day-to-day English that folks use, accents, etc., right? And so navigating those challenges as well. And then standard, just like everyone else, even US born, right? Childcare, transportation, housing are all big issues that skilled immigrants face. And so again, not an all exhaustive list. However, a list nonetheless that either some may face, many may face, etc. And so we just want to make sure that we're mindful of those. And also like kind of appreciating, right, the differences that exist when folks come from other countries, what was it like there and how different it is for them, how different it may be for them coming to the US. All right, and so I want to kind of go over a scenario here and kind of tap into what tools do you already have, right? What do you already know about working with skilled immigrants? And so I'm going to bring up this scenario here. And so very real even to our lives now, right? An individual recently arrived from Ukraine, where they were an elementary school teacher, and they have a bachelor's degree in teaching from the Ukraine. They have received their employment authorization document, their EAD, and they're ready to get back into teaching here in the US. And so I want you, if you can, respond in chat. What tools, what do you already have, that you could use in order to assist them? I'll give you a couple minutes if you want to think on that. And just kind of thinking about it. What tools do you already have? What do you already know that you could use to assist them? Feel free to respond in chat there. What tools do you have to assist them to get back into teaching here in the US? What do we already know? Subbing in schools to begin. All right, so getting that US work experience, connecting to the Department of Education, sending them to a transcript evaluation service. What else? Job shadow opportunity. with the partner school ESL classes to complement the workforce in the US. Job descriptions of elementary school teachers, right? So looking at what job descriptions look like. Volunteering, ESOL resources, tutorial support for relicensing, tutoring, networking, excellent. Scheduling meeting with career coaches, tutoring bilingual, resume and cover letter assistance. Offer to mentor, oh, excellent. Assist in understanding US work school system if there's a language barrier, right? And so the school system, that's even another one, right? Navigating the school system. What does the school system look like here in the US versus what it may look like in their home country? What does applying to the school system look like here in the US, right? As opposed to in their home country. Offer career coach to help him or her. Excellent. All right, great. So we have a lot of tools that we already have in our toolbox. And then what I'm hoping that after today is that we leave with even more tools, right? I'm a tool collector. I'm a connector of resources. And so I'm always looking for more information to have. And so you all are also providing me with information that I can have in my toolbox. Let's see. ME degree in education. Oops, they're going too fast. Local resource information for healthcare, job placement, direction, patient navigation certification. Excellent. Career1stop.com. Excellent. Mentor, right? Excellent. So we have a lot of different resources and tools that we already have in our toolboxes. School systems in Maryland have offer a para-educator to teacher pathway. Excellent. Thank you. Wonderful. Ask an immigrant settlement agency for support. So working with our partners. Wonderful. So we have a lot of tools in our toolbox. Excellent. So ideas are generating, right? And this is kind of how things work, right? We come in contact with a student, with a customer, with a client, whatever we call them in our respective organizations. And we kind of just try to work through like, what do you have? Where do we want to go? And how are we going to get there, right? And we have to tap into our partners, right? We have to tap into the resources that we have at hand. And so one of the resources that I want to talk about is just best practices in working with skilled immigrants. Again, not an all-inclusive list, just a little bit of recon that I did, because we work with folks day in and day out, and we want to make sure that we are honing in on the best ways in order to interact with folks. And you may know of other ways, so I welcome you to share. If there's something on this list that you've done and you feel should be shared with the group, please do so and share that in chat. And so one thing I always talk about, and again, I'm sure as educators working in adult education, you do this day in and day out, which is reinforcing that cultivation of relationships. And so being genuine, meeting students where they are, showing support, right? And again, knowing that they come with various cultural differences and such, and lived experiences, right? And so cultivating those relationships and hopefully, helping them to be more engaged within their respective, what's the word, journeys, right? Back into either same, similar, or better employment than they may be in now. Being culturally aware, right? I don't say competent. I think that's a big, really, really hard task to be culturally competent, because culture is so unique and so deeply rooted and so complex. But being culturally aware, right? Honing in on our own assumptions, honing in on our own biases, and asking the questions, right? If somebody's doing something that we're not familiar with, inquiring as to why that may be, why would they act, why would they do something in this way versus what I'm used to, things happening this way. Another thing, with classrooms, it's setting those expectations so folks know what is to be expected of them, right? What is the culture of our classroom going to be, right? And sometimes cultivating that as a group, right, is also brings in that sense of belonging and unity as well. And seeking resources to be culturally aware. So if for example, we have Ukrainians are coming into the country in vast numbers. And so can we brush up a little bit on our Ukrainian knowledge? What is it like in Ukraine? What is the culture like in Ukraine, et cetera, right? We have Afghans who have arrived since a year and a half or so, right? Almost a year and a half or so. And so, kind of brushing up on Afghan culture. If you notice that there's an influx of another culture coming in to receive services as well, kind of just brushing up on that. A great resource for that. And I don't know if I have a slide, but if I don't have a slide on that, I probably should have added one as I think about it now. But Switchboard. Switchboard is great. Anybody know about Switchboard? Yes or no? Put it in chat. Have you gone to Switchboard? No. Have you heard of Switchboard? No, yes, so yes. Or I say yes, most of them knows. Okay. So hopefully, let's see if we have enough time here at the end, and I'll kind of go to Switchboard to see if I can just kind of demo that for you a little bit for anybody who's not seen it. So essentially, it's a resource hub for refugee service providers. However, it's free, right? It's free to use, but there's a plethora of information that folks can tap into. They have webinars, they have blogs and fact sheets and the whole nine. And so we'll see if hopefully if we have some time, but if not, kind of maybe see if you can write that down, Switchboard, or I'll maybe see if I can send a resource email that has it in there as well. But they have like backgrounders, right, and cultural webinars that they do as well. So Switchboard is a great resource for that. Managing expectations is big all around, no matter what, right? And so I mentioned folks who maybe, who are internationally born, who come over, immigrants, refugees, asylees, new American skilled immigrants. They come over and maybe they are, proficient in English in their home country. But again, that textbook English that folks use versus our colloquial everyday English is different. And so they may have to manage that expectations. Well, hey, I went to school for English, and why is it so difficult for me to kind of communicate with folks on an everyday basis? And so managing that expectation where maybe I thought I was going to be able to come in and talk just off of that, and I can't, right? And so I need to continue to practice and to develop that everyday English proficiency, right? Managing the expectation where I was, a nurse, a doctor, an accountant, a teacher, right? Everything that everybody put in chat. And I want to go back to doing that here in Maryland. However, it's maybe not going to be just a quick process. It maybe it's going to take some time, maybe some months, maybe even some years. And so managing those expectations as well, where, we may not be able to get right into it instantly, but we can work towards it. We can set those goals and set those mini goals and continue to achieve until we get to the main goal. What else? Utilizing trauma-informed care. Again, Switchboard has a great webinar on that as well. And so while not everybody comes with trauma, but knowing that everyone comes from different experiences, and so honing in on that, it may take time for folks to overcome what they may have gone through, and kind of letting them work through that, and supporting them on their journeys as well as they continue to integrate into the workforce here in Maryland. And the other thing is focusing on the can-dos, right? A lot of folks come over like, well, I can't do this, and I can't go back to being a teacher right now, and I can't speak English as well as I want to. And trying to redirect the focus to the I can, right? I can speak English, and maybe I don't have all that I need, but I'm going to continue to work for it. I can be a teacher, maybe not today, but I will be able to if I continue to take these steps. And so the recording, I guess Brayla will handle that in chat there. And so focusing on those can-dos versus the cannots, right? So changing that direction in that focus as well is helpful. All right, let's see. So we're going to keep it moving here. All right, and so in Maryland, we have a Skilled Immigrant Task Force. So if you are a member of the Skilled Immigrant Task Force, I'm going to ask you maybe not to call out yet or respond in chat. However, if you are not a member of the Skilled Immigrant Task Force, do you know what the Skilled Immigrant Task Force is? Yes or no? Anybody know what the Skilled Immigrant Task Force is? See a lot of no's coming through. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, and nobody knows. All right. Well, you're gonna leave knowing. How about that? Yay. Briefly, somebody says. All right, cool. All right, so mostly no, somebody said briefly. If you said briefly, any idea what the Skilled Immigrant Task Force is? You want to respond in chat, feel free. Give you a couple seconds here. If not, I can take it away. No still coming in here, watching chat. I'm guessing to help employ immigrants with skills. Very close. No? All right. So the Skilled Immigrant Task Force is, in a nutshell, a consortium, a group of stakeholders, organizations that seek to leverage skills that foreign-trained professionals bring to the U.S. in order to meet the local job market demand. And so essentially, we are a group of folks, task force formulated to assist the needs and civil laws of immigrants, right? So pretty close, right? And so again, we come together as a group from various organizations, various entities. And we seek to, one, network with each other. So we know that, so-and-so over at this organization is doing this, and I can partner with them in order to get the best possible outcome for maybe my customer, right? And vice versa. And so that we know all of the great work that's happening here in Maryland. And we can have those referrals and those pipelines and those partnerships, right, established, because we can't do it all, and we shouldn't have to do it all, because there are so many great folks who are doing such great work, and we can partner with them. The big thing that I always say to everybody is partnerships are key. And so we establish those partnerships. We also work to create resources, tangible resources that folks can use in order to help them integrate into the U.S. workforce system. And we also create opportunities. So we've held job fairs, for example, specifically targeted towards skilled immigrants and the immigrant community at a whole. And so really giving them those opportunities to make connections with employers, with resources, specifically targeted towards those populations. And so our members, in a high flying overview as well, the group is co-led by myself, as I mentioned, and my counterpart over at the Department of Human Services, the director of the Maryland Office for Refugees and Asylees, so MORA. Some folks may know MORA. We also have our adult education providers, much like yourselves. We have representation from all of our resettlement agencies are there. Various immigrant serving nonprofits, which we'll go over. Our American Job Centers are represented, and more. And so what I want to kind of try to do now is kind of just talk about the various resources through, for example, our members that we have, that kind of, I'm just making sure I'm good on time here. Okay. That folks can tap into, essentially, right? More tools that you could have in your toolbox, right? You mentioned tools that you already had in helping that student who was a teacher, right, from the Ukraine, that kind of scenario that I posed to you. You already mentioned several resources that you already have in your toolbox. And so the following resources we're going to kind of go over is just additional things that you could have in your toolbox when working with various students. And so knowing that these exist. All right. And so let's kind of see. So resources, career pathways guides. Who's ever used a career pathways guide? Yes or no? Have you ever used a career pathways guide? Do you know what that is? Career pathways guide. Have you ever used one? The folks have said yes. Excellent. All right, just watching the chat here. So it's 50-50 right now. A little bit of yeses and nos. Hard for me to keep track now, but it looks like it's still maybe a little bit 50-50. All right, cool. So some folks, yes, some folks no. So for folks who know, maybe you haven't used one, maybe don't know what it is. Essentially, a career pathways guide is kind of like a map, if you will, of how do I get back into that occupation? How do I get into that occupation? What steps do I need to take? What education do I need to have? What does the licensing look like? Who do I need to contact? What resources do I have to assist me in getting into that field? And so a few resources that you could tap into right now, sitting live in living color on our New Americans page, is a career pathways guide in engineering that the Skilled Immigrant Task Force created back in 2018. And essentially, like I said, it guides folks through what does the process look like to relicense here in Maryland to be an engineer. It gives you different scenarios based on your education, and maybe take this path or this path or this path, excuse me, in order to relicense in Maryland. We are currently, as the Skilled Immigrant Task Force, working on another career pathways guide to hopefully be out sometime this spring is the hope. And so it will be for 6 careers in healthcare. And so again, it will outline, what exactly is that occupation and how do I get back into the occupation? What steps do I need to take? Who do I need to contact, right? Where do I start the process? Who can help me with the process, right? So our adult education providers, our American Job Centers, registered apprenticeships, right? So all of these different resources that we can tap into in order to help somebody along the way in order to relicense or re-enter that field, even if it's not a licensed occupation here in the US. And so another resource that's out there is the World Education Services. They have some national career pathway resources. So while these are not going to be specific to Maryland, they can help generate ideas for folks. And so while we don't have one, for example, in information technology or in dentistry or in law at the moment, if you were to run into somebody, who has that background, you could kind of tap into that resource as a way to generate ideas. What do I want to, how can I help this person? What steps may I need to take? And then kind of see how does that relate to relicensing here in Maryland. All right, this was checking I saw that there was a few things in Q&A. All right, excellent. So no questions as far as I can see. And so career pathways guides, again, essentially are there as a roadmap of how do I get back into that occupation here, either nationally, right? We can use the West guides, or the guides that we're going to continue to put out through our skilled immigrant task force. So we have engineering, and hopefully, like I said, by this spring, we'll have some career pathways guides ready to go for 6 occupations in healthcare. Questions on career pathways guides for those who maybe have not used them. If you've used one, I have a question for you. Maybe you can see. Did you find them helpful? For anyone who has used the career pathways guide, was it helpful to you? Yes or no? Yes, with exclamation point. Yay. Right, again, it's kind of like that roadmap. All right, excellent. So they were helpful. Excellent. All right. What other resources can we tap into? So the Maryland Department of Labor has several resources that we can tap into. Our American Job Centers, right? So hopefully through our adult education and American Job Centers, we're talking to each other, we're collaborating with each other. That's the way to make things work. And so through our American Job Centers, right, we could refer folks to the American Job Centers, and hopefully like soft handoffs, I like to say. So we know that it's typically not just going to work like say, hey, you know, an American Job Center telling somebody just to go to adult ed and figure it out, right? If we can have those partnerships with our local areas, in establishing those referrals, like, hey, I have so-and-so, and they're looking for information from the American Job Center to this respect, and vice versa, right? We can refer folks back and forth, but those soft handoffs really make the dream work, right? Teamwork makes the dream work, and those soft handoffs are even more so, and most effective. So, you know, making sure that you do have your partnerships with your American Job Centers as much as possible. And if you need help establishing those partnerships, please reach out to me. I'm happy to make connections and forge partnerships as you see fit, and kind of connect you with folks to see how can we have those referral systems set up to really let folks kind of travel back and forth between the two entities, essentially, for a cohesive and the best outcome really for the student, for the customer, right? Depending on where you are, we call folks different things. But really we want to have them have the best possible outcome, right? And to attain the goals that they're looking to achieve. Excuse me. Maryland Apprenticeship. Who knows about Maryland Apprenticeship? Yes or no? No. Oh no. Too many no's for my liking. A little, some yeses. Looks like a little bit too many no's for my liking. No of it, but would like to know. My son is in an apprenticeship now. Excellent. What apprenticeship is he in? I'm curious. Just a little. Somebody says absolutely. Awesome. And so for those who don't know what registered apprenticeship, essentially it's a earn and learn model. So where you are an employee from day one with the employer / they call them sponsors. And you are learning that job through their program. And they vary from months to years. And essentially any educational component that you need will be provided through the sponsor, and either in collaboration with an adult education provider, like so many of you probably partner with sponsors in providing that educational piece. But again, it's that earn and learn model. So where folks maybe want to try something new, get into a new field, but they can't just go to school and then go to work. Apprenticeship does them both at the same time. And so folks will start off at a maybe maybe half or a third of what somebody who is, a full-fledged electrical engineer or something like that. And as they continue to learn and earn, they'll continue to increase their wages and their learning until boom, they have reached the max level and have all the knowledge that they need in order to perform that occupation at the full performing level. An electrician at Harper Community College, excellent. And so yeah, registered apprenticeships are great. Even more so for somebody who may be a skilled immigrant, and we would think, my thought process was, well, shoot, if somebody comes from being a carpenter, for example, and they were a carpenter in their home country and they come here, like, why would they need a registered apprenticeship? And it was explained to me, well, was carpentry the same there as it is here, right? The regulations, the rules, right? Learning OSHA, right? For example. And so going into that registered apprenticeship, while they may have, a base skill and such, they need to learn the US workforce, right? So that US workforce component comes into play. And so a registered apprenticeship is a great way for folks to earn, get those wages, and learn, get that knowledge in order for them to complete the program. And then they, again, like I said, they are an employee from day one. And once they complete the program, they are employed with that employer, with that sponsor. Is it the same as on-the-job training? Yeah, essentially, yes, it has on-the-job. In order to be a registered apprenticeship, you have to have an on-the-job training component. Yep, absolutely. All right, another program for training is Earn Maryland. Who knows Earn? And I think some of our community colleges are Earn grantees. Do you know Earn? Whoops, went too fast. And so in order to be with an American Job Center, you do not have to be an American citizen. Just work authorized in order to access the training opportunities. However, even if folks are not work authorized, they can still access the workforce pieces, right? Resume writing, interviewing help, etc. Registered apprenticeship, also, you do not have to be a citizen, just work authorized. All right, excellent. Okay, so mostly folks said no about Earn. Okay, and so Earn again is a state-funded training program. So where the American Job Centers are federally funded, and those training programs are federally funded, Earn Maryland is a state-funded training program for which free training exists, or if there's a cost, it is like minutely minimal. That this almost should be little to no cost to the job seeker, or to the student, or to the customer, essentially, in order to take the trainings. And essentially, they have various opportunities throughout industries such as healthcare, IT, transportation, the automotive, and so they have various opportunities. So maybe once we're done here, let's see how we're doing on time. We can maybe do a little bit of a demo on how to look up registered apprenticeships, how to look up Earn Maryland training programs. I'm just checking my time here. And so we'll see if we can go over those. So again, just another way to connect folks with training opportunities, learning opportunities, et cetera, to help them kind of along the way here. And then the last resource that I want to talk about through the Maryland Department of Labor is the Professional Outplacement Assistance Center. Who's heard of the Professional Outplacement Assistance Center? Yes or no? Professional Outplacement Assistance Center. No. What you know is coming out too. All right. Not a shock. All right, cool. So mostly no's. I don't see any yes come. All right, so our Professional Outplacement Assistance Center, in a nutshell, is essentially like a satellite American Job Center, where they work solely with folks who have professional, managerial, executive, scientific type of occupations, and kind of work with them to kind of get them back into the workforce. And this could be folks who have been laid off, who are looking for other opportunities, who maybe have left the workforce and are trying to come back into the workforce. And so, the Professional Outplacement Assistance Center works with them on those workforce pieces, right? So referring them to training opportunities if they need additional training, working with them on getting resumes up to par, getting their interview skills ready to go, making sure their LinkedIn profile is good, offering them networking opportunities, right? Because we mentioned 80% of jobs are found through networking. And so offering them all of those different touch points, because we know sometimes for professional, managerial, executive type of folks, sometimes it takes a little longer to get into those positions because they don't always come available so often, right? Folks tend to stay in those positions a little longer than other positions. And so is this open to everyone or just skilled immigrants? These are opportunities who are open to anyone, right? But I bring them forth here again, just to kind of reiterate that they are also open to skilled immigrants. Sometimes folks don't think that the two correlate. But yeah, these are services that are available to anyone. So if you see something that you would like to talk to maybe a student who's not a skilled immigrant, right? These programs are available to anyone, not just skilled immigrants. All right, so those are the MD labor resources. Any questions on those? And again, hopefully I have some time at the end that we can kind of do a live demo and kind of just show you how to look up these various opportunities. Some resources that exist in Maryland and nationwide as well are some of our nonprofits. And so while folks may come to us looking for training opportunities, they may need some financial assistance, right? And so the Latino Economic Development Center, LEDC, also offers information and resources for housing and financial literacy, et cetera. Again, to all, but really focuses is on, immigrant populations, new Americans, et cetera. And so they are a resource and they're right in our backyard. And for the most part, everyone that I'm kind of talking about is kind of members of the Skilled Immigrant Task Force. So kind of honing in on our membership here. The Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services has a New American Cities program. And essentially it works to help immigrants who've been in the US for, I don't know that, I think it's up to 20 years would be the max. And so if they've been here 20 years or less, they could kind of connect with the New American Cities program. And again, it's really trying to integrate them, right? Get them from maybe where they are to maybe where they want to be and kind of help them along that path, pathway and create that pathway for them and create those opportunities and those goals and help them to achieve those goals and referring them to the various programs that would help them to achieve those goals. So that's the New American Cities program. Streetwise Partners, also a member of our Skilled Immigrant Task Force. And essentially they're a mentorship program where they also will pair job seekers with mentees. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, mentors to mentee. So they get like a 2-for-1, they get double the information. And so essentially, pairing them up with somebody from their industry. So say if somebody was an accountant, pairing them up with accountants or pairing them up with folks in the healthcare profession, for the teachers, et cetera, right? So pairing them up with somebody who's in that industry already. And again, honing in on that networking piece, right? Building those networks. And they network with the mentors and the mentors can kind of help them network with others. Streetwise is always great, looking for volunteers, check them out. Excellent, right? And so great organization, again, really working with all folks, but again, has that skilled immigrant piece. And the last one, Upwardly Global, is a nationwide organization as well, and they work specifically with skilled immigrants, helping them to reintegrate into the US workforce system across the nation. And so we have folks who kind of work within our DMV area, our local DMV area, really connecting folks with training opportunities, that workforce development piece, that job readiness aspects as well. And so Upwardly Global is another fabulous resource and another great member of our Skilled Immigrant Task Force. So hopefully you're taking away and you're getting some new resources. What I'm planning to do is I'm planning to see if I can recon maybe just flyers about all of these resources and put them in a nice, beautiful email and forward that along to the organizers of this VTI and see if they can then forward that to all of the attendees that came today. So that way you just have flyers about all of these various organizations that you can print, share, email, right with your respective students. Just so again, so you have more tools in your toolbox that you can connect folks with. All right, and then a few additional resources. I'm doing good on time here. Okay, we should be able to have some time to go online. A few additional resources that I wanted to kind of talk about. One is the Welcome Back Center. Who's heard of the Welcome Back Center? Who's heard of the Welcome Back Center? Yes or no? Nope, nope, nope. I saw one yes. Not me. Mostly no's. All right. So again, hopefully you're taking a lot of takeaways from today. So again, we are fortunate enough to have a Welcome Back Center here in Maryland. And I believe there are 12 of these centers in about 10 cities across the nation. And so essentially the Welcome Back Center initiative is a nationwide initiative, which really is geared towards helping internationally trained healthcare professionals, right? So those heavily regulated professions of healthcare and licensed and have all those certifications and all of those steps that folks have to take in order to get licensed in the respective states. They work towards helping those folks get back into the respective professions here in Maryland. And so here in Maryland, we have a Welcome Back Center. It's located in Silver Spring. However, they service all of Maryland. And essentially, they're heavily focused on helping internationally trained nurses, behavioral health, and physicians, international medical graduates, kind of reintegrate into the Maryland workforce, and right, so helping them with those credential evaluations and the ESOL classes if they need them, and the test prep, and writing their resumes and connecting them with maybe their first employment and maybe in a lower field that maybe they want to be into, but again, taking those steps to continue to work their way up to their ultimate goal. And so we are fortunate to have a Welcome Back Center here in Maryland. So again, knowing that it exists, knowing that it's a place that folks can go to for additional resources and services, again, having more tools in the toolbox. Another resource that exists is through Howard Community College. They have a skilled immigrant program, which is for skilled immigrants, to again, help them with those workforce pieces, help them with continuing to develop their English, writing their resumes. They also do a type of mentorship program. And so helping them with all of those workforce pieces, and then essentially connecting them with employers, right? So they have that employer partnership as well. And the last one in Howard County as well, the Howard County Library System has a program that is currently underway, fully funded program. They did a pilot year before last. And so last year they started this fully funded program, professional development for skilled new immigrants. Again, same thing, kind of helping folks work through any English proficiency that they may need, any digital literacy that they may need.
All right, we're going to wait to see if Joanna can get reconnected to sound. Oh, she's going to use her phone, I think. So just hang on just a minute while she does that.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, Joanna, we can hear you.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm gonna take my headphones out, otherwise I just hear myself talking. That's weird. And so thank you for your patience. I don't know what happened, but technology is great until it fails us. So I hopefully you can hear me now. Let me know if you at all point can't. So we're gonna pivot here, and that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years. If we learn nothing else, we learn how to pivot and be flexible. Question coming through real quick. Could you describe resources for illegal immigrants without work authorization? And so we know that our adult education providers obviously can provide those. There are certain stipulations with certain programs where they do have to have work authorization. Through our American Job Centers, folks can access our resources, however, limited resources, because that workforce piece, we can't refer anyone to employment by law if they are not work authorized. However, they can access our other services to include, as I mentioned, resume assistance, maybe referrals to other programs that could help them, essentially interviewing resources, et cetera. So any of that kind of workforce piece or that job readiness. And then once that documentation can kind of come in, we can kind of do the full-fledged, right? If they need any training assistance, et cetera, we can do those. And so I also have, I want to say I have a list of maybe other organizations, nonprofits essentially, that really do work with folks who maybe are undocumented at the moment and maybe working on their work authorization. And so I'll see if I can recon that list and have that as well as a touch point for folks to have in the interim as well. All right. So excellent. All right. So I think we have a few minutes here. All right. So what I want to do is pose a question to you. What else? Are there any other resources that I'm missing that I don't have? I'd love to hear if you have a resource that you feel you'd like to share with us. Let me know. Kind of put that through chat. What else? What am I missing? Anything that you're using currently that you feel is fabulous and you want the whole world to know? Kind of put that through chat here. Anything else? Any other resources that you know of? Because again, I'm always looking for tools for my toolbox. So hopefully I gave you some for yours, but I'd love to take away some for mine. All right, I'm Bach. Oh yes, so that's an apprenticeship. So BAC is the Baltimore Alliance for Careers in Healthcare. And so, yes, they have a registered apprenticeship. Great. What else? Anything else? I'm going to keep checking chat. But what I want to do is see here if I can maybe stop sharing my slides and move this bar that's in my way, but I can't see how to move it. Oh, here we go. Let's see if I can move this down. And then see if I wanted to show you a couple things that you could possibly tap into. My internet's been a little slow. Maybe that's why my audio cut out. Why is this taking so long? I'm sorry. Well, I guess my internet is a little slow. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yes. Hopefully that didn't cut out. Haitian Development Center of Delmarva. Excellent. Okay. I don't know why it's taking so long. So let's see if we could go to switchboard. Switchboard is one I wanted to show you. I think my internet is just super, super slow. I have no idea what's happening today. Sorry about that. Give it a few more seconds to see if anything else pops up. I'm gonna come back to chat here and see what else came through. Let's reach out to the people that said I plan to look at them and add them to my student. Okay, excellent. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so this is switchboard, like I mentioned. It is a free resource. The only thing you have to do in order to access, like download a document or a fact sheet or listen to a webinar, pre-record a webinar that has passed, etc., is really just create an account. I highly recommend it, especially if you work with refugees and immigrants, right? It's great. They send a lot of great resources. So I would get on their listserv if you can. However, what did I mention? Right, if we were to put like, let's see, you could just kind of search things. Cultural backgrounder, let's see what comes up. If we put in cultural backgrounder, I'm pretty sure plenty of stuff will come up. All right, and so, for example, cultural backgrounder in the Congolese, cultural background, refugee families from Somalia, from Iraq, right? So various resources that you can tap into. And so if you're seeing folks from these various countries, right, this is a great resource to tap into, switchboard. And so if you're not already, I would highly recommend, right, refugees from Ukraine, Ukrainian backgrounder, Afghan backgrounder. And so various resources that you could tap into, just so much stuff. This is, I love getting their blog and their newsletter every day. I'm like, oh, what fun stuff can I learn today? And so again, if you're not on the listserv, highly recommend Switchboard. Again, it's free. The only thing you have to do is create an account, a free account, in order to, attend certain sessions if they have, or download a blog, or download a fact sheet, or download the cultural backgrounders. All right, the other resource, we're going to come and see if I can pull up the Maryland Department of Labor website. Technology. No.
So Joanna, while you're trying to do that, there was another question in the Q&A.
Oh, sure.
And Karen asked, and you touched on this a little bit. What are the implications of citizenship versus non-citizenship in getting a job?
So typically the citizenship would not be required, other than, for the most part, like if you're trying to work for the federal government. But as long as somebody has work authorization, and work authorization, there's various documents that folks can have for work authorization. And so as long as they're work authorized, but for registered apprenticeship, it's not working again. Registered apprenticeship, for example, accessing our workforce services, the training opportunities, getting referred to employment, really just have to have work authorization. You do not have to be a U.S. citizen. Let's see. I don't know why it's not working. Try it one more time. I apologize. Technology is great, right? Until it doesn't work the way we want it to. Yeah. Oh, yay. Okay, it popped up. All right. So we do have a New Americans page on our Department of Labor website. And so it has various resources that folks could tap into. So for example, coming into jobs, just want you to know that these exist. There are registered apprenticeship brochures in various languages. So if you needed some language specific information, we have it here. If there's a language that you come in contact with that we don't have it translated in, please let me know. And we can gladly get that translated in the language for which you would need. We have various resources for staff, right? We have a common guide to work authorization documents if you were to need that, just because documents can look different depending on the populations that you're working with. There's a staff resource guide for skilled immigrants. And so I will preface that it's not the most user-friendly at the moment, but it's on our to-do list to kind of make it a little bit more user-friendly. But it does have various organizations that you could connect with for resources in working with skilled immigrants. So a lot of our workforce partners are on here. There are Maryland based resources. And then it kind of goes into some county specific resources as well. So depending on the county you're in, you can tap into different resources as well. So this resource guide exists. And then we also have another one we created for the actual job seeker, for the student, the customer, the client. And so it's on our Skilled Immigrant Task Force page, and it's at the bottom. So it's a resource guide for new American job seekers. And essentially it lists various resources that folks could tap into depending on the service that they're looking for. And so it's kind of broken down here with the little icons. And so if somebody's looking for credential evaluation, then we have credential evaluation services, education and training, folks who provide employment services. And so it kind of goes over what is that entity and what kind of resource do they provide. And then afterwards, it will have information on what that actual organization or what that service actually is, right? And so we mentioned kind of credential evaluating, and so NACES is a big one, the National Association for Credential Services. And so there are various organizations are listed here. Again, just a resource that we talked about, but there's so many in here. And so these resources are here, they're available, print them, share them, send them, whatever you wanna do. Feel free to share the information far and wide with whomever you think may benefit. Cutting close on time, so I really want to go really quickly to show you the apprenticeship locator. And so just on our main page, so we just go to jobs, and then these DWDAL services here on the left-hand side, we can go to, it always takes me a second to find it. Because it's always listed as whatever, no, not those, where did it go? All right, we can look at Earn Maryland. So again, Earn is that state funded training program. And so we can find Earn Maryland programs. And we can either find them by the type, or you could also find them by where they're located, right? There's this partnership. So you can see what county and what does that county have. And I think I could make this possibly a little bigger for you, just so we could see, and it's still a little blurry. But like, for example, in Prince George's County, there's a healthcare partnership. There's construction. Montgomery County has healthcare, biotechnology, transportation. And so depending on the county you're in, there's various opportunities. Baltimore City has a whole bunch here. And so that's one thing. This is entirely too large now. All right, and where is apprenticeship? Why can't I find it? Oh, apprenticeship and training program, here it is. Same thing, apprenticeship, you can go to the apprenticeship locator. Click on be an apprentice or search now, either one. And then you can, typically I say search all counties, because opportunities can be available in various counties. All counties typically would be regular, right? Unless you're working with a high school student, but it would be regular. And then you can either search for the actual occupation or the industry. So if we were to search for occupation, we could see all of the occupations for which an apprenticeship exists. And the list might be lengthy. And so available in your regular blue collar trades is what we usually think about apprenticeship. However, there are opportunities in IT. There are opportunities in healthcare. There's one, central serve processing. There's some biotechnology ones as well. So various opportunities are continuing to open up with registered apprenticeship. And so yeah, I think that brings me to kind of the end here. Maybe I'll just kind of do this. And so what else? We kind of talked about that. And so just culminating here, takeaways. Did you learn about a new resource? If so, what was it? If you want to drop that in chat real quick. I'll come back to chat to see if I missed any information, any questions. And yes, I will try to do a whole resource email and send that over to the organizers, and they can disperse that to the attendees for today. So you all were great. If you have any questions, right, if you want to learn more, if you want to get connected to any of the resources, if you want to learn more about the Skilled Immigrant Task Force, please let me know. That's my email, that's my phone number. Feel free to connect with me and all of the fabulous resources, and hopefully you have more tools for your toolbox to help you in working with the skilled immigrants here in Maryland.
Joanna, thank you so much. I'm sure everyone learned so much. I know I did. So once again, we just want to remind people, please do the evaluation. Your feedback is a gift to Joanna. Proof of attendance will be sent via Zoom, so that'll be coming your way. And for those of you who missed part of the presentation, the recordings will be on our YouTube channel, and that date is yet to be determined when we can get all of that posted. Thank you all so much. Thank you again to Joanna. This was very informative, and you all have been great participants, putting your questions in the chat and the Q&A. Thank you all so much. Have a great
everybody.
afternoon.
Hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. And thanks, Braylon and team, for having me on. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome, Joanna.
All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week.
All right. Take care.